Hello and welcome back to Christine's Kitchen. We are going to talk about preparing for decorating our sugar cookies. So we have made the sugar cookies, they're cooled, we're ready to decorate them, but we need to make sure we have all of our tools and everything ready to go before we start. So it's kind of a process, so that's why we're kind of doing it in multiple stages here. So I have made 3 different kinds of frosting that are the 3 typical ones that we use for decorating sugar cookies. One is glaze, which is very thin and watery. It's basically powdered sugar and a little flavoring and a little milk, okay? Or water, doesn't matter, either one, but it's very little bit of water or liquid. This is the royal frosting, which is basically frosting glue. So it's the frosting that we use to outline sugar cookies or to put together your gingerbread houses to hold them together really good and tight. So royal frosting made with egg whites, and then you have the buttercream frosting. I call it the butter creamy because I use real cream and it's really yummy and really great buttercream frosting. When you make your frostings, you can put your food color or your flavorings in the frosting, and then if you wanted to separate it into different bowls like this in order to color them differently so you have multiple colors to work with, you can do it that way. I always put the flavorings in the big batch and then I do the coloring separate. So I made this green glaze, this is glaze, with the, this is a paste food coloring. When you're using a paste, you're going to, or a gel, it comes in gel as well, you're going to use a toothpick to get it out. Now this is very concentrate, so you only need a little bit. So to color this little bit of frosting, it's just a little dab, like a teardrop on the end of the toothpick, and put it in. You never want to double dunk into your coloring. You just wipe it into the coloring and then throw the toothpick, or into the frosting and then throw the toothpick away. Because if you get frosting in here, it will crystallize and it'll ruin the whole container. So 1 toothpick per dunk, don't double dunk it. In this one, I am leaving it white. Now, you think, oh, well, it looks white already. This is actually not colored, and it is very transparent. When you put powdered sugar and water or milk together, it actually is very transparent. So you can buy white food coloring to put into your glaze to make it opaque. So when I'm doing my snowflakes, I don't want it to see through to the yellowish golden color of the cookie, and so I need my white to be opaque. So I will put the white food coloring into the white glaze to get that nice opaque white, a bright white color on the sugar cookie. Okay, so let's talk about applicators and what the frosting works best in. Okay, for glazes, I love to use these bottles. They're very pliable, and so we fill them up with the liquid. They have a coupler on the top. So let's take this one apart. You fill it easily in here. It's very liquidy. And then it has a little top so that you can change out your tips. So these are called tips. They come in all different shapes and sizes, and you put it on the coupler and then you screw on the cap, or you use the little screw top to hold it all together, and that works really great when we're doing the glazes. Now, I like to use a 2 to a 4 on the circles of the glazes because I want it to come out pretty quick when I'm using the glaze, okay? So I like to use those for glazes. Then for the royal frosting and with the buttercream, you can use any kind of bag you want. This is a nice silicone bag. You can put the coupler, you can do it just with the tip. If you're only going to use the same size tip for the whole thing, you can put the tip directly in, let it go down to the bottom, and just use the tip, okay? As long as that hole isn't too big. Some of my bags are different sizes. This one, I'm going to show you how to put it together. You put the coupler down in, squeeze it on tight, and then you put the tip on, and then you put the cap on, or the screw top on. Now, if I want to switch out tips, again, I can just unscrew it and I can have the same color of frosting in here, just different tips, okay? So if you don't use the coupler, you can't change out the tips. Now, I'm going to show you how to fold a paper bag. This is like parchment paper. This is nice because you can just throw it away when you're done. You don't have to worry about washing. But a lot of people get confused on how to fold these. So I'm going to show you really quick. You're going to start with your triangle pointing at your belly, okay? And we're going to try and make it like this shape, right? So immediately you think it should go this direction, but it's actually, we're going to do it this direction. So the point goes to your belly. We're going to pretend that this is where this is going to be, okay? So if you visualize it that way, take this part, this corner, and roll it up to this corner here. Take this side and roll it over to the bottom underneath and match up these corners like so. You can see that all those tips are all together and we've made a bag, okay? And it's coming down to a nice tip here. Now I'm gonna lay it down on the table. You can fold it out like that, that's fine, all right? And then you're gonna fold it over to secure it together, okay? Rolling it down to finish. Now some people will say staple it right there, but you're gonna be using this with your hands and touching it, and you don't want to cut your hand on the staple. Some people will tell you that you need to tape this shut, which we will. I don't usually do it, but when you're just starting it, it does help to hold it secure. And you know what? We can tape the top as well if you want to help it stay down. But it basically is holding it all together. Now, if you want to use a coupler in there, you can, or you can just put the tip in. Now we need to chop off the end so that we can have it go down and fit in nicely. If you're not using a coupler, you probably should secure it because this keeps it, if it's just the tip, it's pretty loose. So I'm gonna use a coupler, but I'm gonna trim off the end about that much, and hopefully that's enough for my coupler. And there it is, it's coming through just great. I'm going to put my tip right on top, and you'll notice that my tip is covering the paper over the coupler, and then I'm screwing on the top. Okay, now that's in there, and our bag is ready to go. Okay, so this is a paper bag, a silicone bag, and then, I don't know what you call that, nice little jar. As far as filling them, if you have someone that is working with you, you can have them hold the bag and fill it, which is really great for a partner. If you don't, you can use the jar. Okay, let's do it with the silicone bag first. So I'm gonna shove it in there into the jar, and I'm gonna roll the edge over the top, okay? Now it's holding up really well for me. I'm going to put the royal icing into this bag. Now, if you noticed when we started, I had some paper towels on top of these bowls. That is going to keep the frosting moist and from getting hard. It's a wet paper towel, I should say. It's not just a paper towel. A wet paper towel on top of the bowl is going to keep the whole bowl moist while you're working with the frosting and not have it harden up or crust on the top. So I'm going to cover that back up. And then you can see that as I pull this up and out of the bag, I can shake it down in really well. And I can use my rubber spatula on the outside to push it to the end. Okay. And then that bag is ready to go. Now when you're using a silicone bag like this, you can push it down and then you just twist it. Okay. You can see that it's already starting to come out. When you use this type of bag also, you're having your thumb on one side, and as you're going, this is your balance hand, the other hand is squishing, and you're just pushing on it and using this hand for balance, okay? So I'm pushing and squeezing at the same time. Now this came out pretty fast because it's the start. We'll talk about decorating later, but that's how you do the bag. Okay, then we'll do the same thing with the paper. Obviously, we're not gonna fold it over the jar because it will rip. and we're going to put some buttercream frosting in this one. Okay. Okay, now on this one, again, you can scrape it away from the top just by using your rubber scraper on the inside, and then using your fingers to push it, or use your rubber scraper. But on this one, we can't roll the top, so we're gonna fold in the sides, and then we're gonna roll it down like this. Like I said, you're gonna use your hand to squeeze it and roll in this motion, because you're not going to be able to have enough room to put it together like the other bag. Okay, and then you're pushing and rolling with your hand down and using this as your guide. Okay, so we have our bags all ready to go. We have all of our sprinkles out. We have all of our tools out that we're going to use for decorating. And I think we're ready to decorate. So I'll see you in a moment.